Have you ever noticed something strange? The more worried you become about money, the harder it becomes to think clearly about money. It sounds backwards. If financial survival is important, shouldn't your brain become sharper under pressure? Shouldn't stress make you better at solving problems? But what if the opposite is true? What if the very thing you're using to survive is quietly changing the way your mind works? And what if that change explains why financial stress can feel impossible to escape? Imagine this. It's late at night. Everyone else is asleep. But you're awake, staring at your bank account, doing the same calculations you've already done 10 times. Rent, groceries, debt, unexpected expenses. You move numbers around in your head like pieces on a chessboard. Maybe if you delay this payment, maybe if you work a few extra hours, maybe next month will be different. But instead of finding answers, your thoughts become louder, faster, more chaotic. And here's the frustrating part. You know you're thinking irrationally. You know you're worrying too much. Yet you can't stop. Like, seriously. Why does the brain do this? Why does financial stress make intelligent people feel trapped inside their own minds? The answer begins with something psychologists call the HPA axis. Now don't let the name scare you. Think of it as your brain's emergency alarm system. Thousands of years ago, this system kept our ancestors alive. If a predator appeared in the distance, the brain needed to react immediately. No time for deep reflection. No time for philosophical thinking. Just action. Run. Hide. Survive. The HPA axis floods the body with stress hormones like cortisol. Your heart beats faster. Your muscles become alert. Your attention narrows. Back then, that was incredibly useful. But here's where things get complicated. Your brain doesn't fully understand the difference between a charging predator and a financial crisis. To your nervous system, an overdue bill can feel surprisingly similar to physical danger. And that's where the rewiring begins. I've often wondered why financial stress feels so consuming, why it seems to occupy every corner of the mind. Research suggests that chronic financial pressure reduces what psychologists call cognitive bandwidth. Imagine your mind is a computer. Normally, multiple programs can run smoothly. Creativity, planning, memory, decision-making, everything works together. But financial stress acts like a massive background application, consuming resources. Suddenly, the system slows down. You forget things. You struggle to focus. Simple decisions become exhausting. Man, that's crazy when you think about it. The problem isn't that you've become less intelligent. The problem is that your mental resources are being redirected towards survival. And then something even more interesting happens. Neuroplasticity enters the story. Neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to adapt itself based on repeated experiences. Think of it like a forest. Every thought is a pathway. The more frequently you walk down a path, the easier it becomes to travel. Under constant financial stress, your brain starts strengthening pathways related to threat detection, worry, fear, scanning for danger, worst-case scenarios. Over time, these pathways become highways. Your mind becomes exceptionally skilled at finding problems, but not necessarily solutions. Come on, dude. How many times have you caught yourself imagining disasters that haven't even happened yet? That's not weakness. That's adaptation. The brain is becoming better at the job it believes is most important, protecting you from future threats. And this creates a strange paradox. The very mechanism designed to protect you can begin hurting you. Because financial stress doesn't just change what you think about. It changes how you think. You become more focused on immediate relief. Short-term decisions start feeling more attractive. Future planning becomes harder. Saving money feels less rewarding. Impulsive purchases can become more tempting. Not because you're irresponsible, because your brain is prioritizing present survival over future optimization. Again, thousands of years ago, that strategy made perfect sense. If food was scarce today, worrying about next year wasn't useful. Today's financial world is different. Yet our ancient wiring still influences our behavior. But here's the twist most people never hear. Financial stress isn't proof that your brain is failing. It's proof that your brain is adapting. The problem is that it's adapting to an environment it was never designed for. And honestly, that realization changes everything. Because many people spend years believing they're broken. They blame themselves. They call themselves lazy, undisciplined, weak. But what if the real story is different? What if your brain has simply become stuck in survival mode? What if the exhaustion you're feeling is the cost of carrying invisible psychological weight every day? That doesn't mean you're powerless. In fact, understanding the mechanism gives you leverage. Because once you understand the system, you can begin working with it instead of against it. So let's talk about a few practical steps. The first is something surprisingly simple. Reduce uncertainty whenever possible. Notice I didn't say eliminate financial problems. That's not always realistic. I said reduce uncertainty. The brain fears unknown threats more than known ones. Create a simple financial overview. Write everything down. Income, expenses, debt, deadlines. Even difficult numbers become less intimidating when they stop floating around inside your head. The second step is regulating your nervous system. Financial stress isn't only a thinking problem. It's a body problem. Slow breathing, walking, exercise, sleep. These activities help calm the nervous system and influence something called the vagus nerve. Think of the vagus nerve as a communication highway between your brain and body. When it's activated, your brain receives a message. We are safe enough to think clearly. And clear thinking is exactly what chronic stress tries to steal from you. The third step is creating tiny wins. Not massive transformations. Tiny wins. One payment. One saved dollar. One completed task. One difficult conversation. Why? Because the brain learns through evidence. Every small success sends a signal that progress is possible. And over time, those signals begin building new neural pathways. Remember neuroplasticity? It works both ways. The same brain that learned fear can also learn confidence. The same brain that adapted to scarcity can adapt to stability. It takes time, but it happens. Financial stress is real. Its effects are real. The exhaustion, the overthinking, the anxiety, the constant mental noise. They're not imaginary, but they're also not your identity. They're experiences passing through a nervous system trying its best to protect you. And maybe that's the most important thing to remember. Because beneath the stress, beneath the fear, beneath all those sleepless nights, there is still a mind capable of healing, capable of adapting, capable of building new pathways forward. Before you leave, here's something to think about. If your brain became the person it is today by adapting to years of financial pressure, what kind of person might you become if it spent the next few years adapting to safety instead? Not perfection, not wealth, just safety, just enough peace to think clearly again. Take a moment with that question. And if this video resonated with your experience, share your thoughts below. Not because you need advice, but because someone reading your comment might realize they're not facing this struggle alone. And sometimes, that understanding is where change begins.